Okay, good morning. So today we're going to begin with a passage of Shraddhavan reading from the canto that we're covering, the issue, Canto 2. This is the anniversary of Shraddhavan's passing. And so she had begun these weekly sessions of the study circle, reading together, studying together, Sri Aurobindo Savitri, and went through the book many times. And so today we'll hear Shraddhavan to begin, and then we'll continue where we left off. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't say just 4 years ago today. Just 4 years, huh? Because, since then we've gone through the book. It usually takes about 4 years. I guess I started a little bit before she passed away. Okay, so we can begin.
All in her pointed to a nobler kind, near to earth's wideness, intimate with heaven, exalted and swift, her young, large-visioned spirit, voyaging through worlds of splendor and of calm, overflew the ways of thought to unborn things. Ardent was her self-poised, unstumbling will. Her mind, a sea of white sincerity, passionate in flow, had not one turbid wave. As in a mystic and dynamic dance, a priestess of immaculate ecstasies, inspired and ruled from truth's revealing vault, moves in some prophet cavern of the gods, a heart of silence in the hands of joy, inhabited with rich, creative beats, a body like a parable of dawn that seemed a niche for veiled divinity or golden temple door to things beyond.
I think that was one of Shraddhavan's favorite passages. I think it was also one of Amal Kiran's favorite passages that he discussed and exemplified the mantric poetry of Savitri, inspired from some very high level of consciousness. So now we can continue where we left off at the bottom of page 13, just 3 lines up from the bottom. 13. So we'll come to that passage that Shraddhavan read in just a bit. Maybe just to put it into context, we're reviewing the issue that that Savitri must face in her ordeal, her mission on earth. Also, we could say Sri Aurobindo and the mother's mission. We could say the mission of all the avatars who come and to uplift the human race, but in doing so must face the terrible ordeal of all the resistance of that evolution. And so there is this cosmic significance behind of the ordeal that the avatar faces, but also it becomes a personal issue in the lives of the avatars, in the life of Savitri. So in this canto, we see interspersed both this cosmic significance of the difficulty that the avatar faces and Savitri's own personal ordeal, her own pain and suffering that she has to go through. And it also reminds us of the difficulties that the mother had to face in her life, in Sri Aurobindo. So with that introduction, let's begin. And we'll continue. Would you like to read? So we're 3 lines up from the bottom on page 13.
Page 13, line 13, line number?
Page, I don't have.
Okay. So it is
There she had grown.
101. Okay. Mm. There has she grown into the stature of her spirit, the genius of titanic silences, steeping her soul in its wide loneliness, had shown to her herself's bare reality, and mated her with her environment. Its solitude greatened her human hours with a background of the eternal and unique, a force of spare direct necessity, reduced the heavy framework of man's days and his overburdening mass of outward needs to a first thin strip of simple animal wants, and the mighty wildness of the primitive earth, and the brooding multitude of patient trees, and the musing sapphire leisure of the sky, and the solemn weight of the slowly passing months, had left in her deep room for thought and God. There was her drama's radiant prologue lived, a spot for the eternal thread on earth, set in the cloistral yawning of the woods and watched by the aspiration of the peaks, appeared through an orate opening in time, where stillness listening felt the unspoken word, and the hours forgot to pause towards grief and change.
Thank you. Let's pause. So in the previous pages, we had been introduced to the ordeal that Savitri must face. And here we're given a short interlude where is described the setting in which she must face this ordeal. So we're given a picture of the hermitage in which she is staying with Satyavan. And that year that she spent with Satyavan here is both wonderful and terrible. She swings sometimes between these moods of dread and fear because she knows that his death will soon come and she knows when. But at the same time, she has this 1 year with her true love, with her deep love and joy together with Satyavan. So here in this hermitage, we see described this setting far removed from society, in nature, in the beauty of the forest and the mountains in the background. So it was here. A spot for the Eternal's tread on earth, set in the cloistral yearning of the woods, and watched by the aspiration of the peaks, appeared through an aureate opening in time, where stillness, listening, felt the unspoken word, and the hours forgot to pass towards grief and change. So let's continue.
Here, with a suddenless divine advance, how, repeating the marvel of the first descent, changing to rapture the dull earthly round, love came to her hiding the shadow death. Well might he find in her his perfect shrine, since first the earth beings evenward grow began. Through all the long ordeal of the race, never a rarer creature bore his shaft. That burning test of the Godhead in our parts, a lightning from the heights on our abyss, all in her pointed to a nobler kind. Near the earth's wideness, intimate with heaven, exalted and shift her young, large vision spirit, voyaging through worlds of splendor and of calm, overflows the way of thought to unborn singing. Ardent was her self-poised, unstumbling will, her mind a sea of white sincerity. Passionate in flow, had not one turbid wave.
Thank you. Let's pause. Thank you. So in this first sentence, we have something of the issue, the ordeal that Savitri must face. And we're given kind of a connection to the earlier canto of the dawn, of the entry of the goddess, the mother form of the mother, into the universe at the very beginning of time, this first descent of the divine into the creation. So this is a repetition of that original dawn, original light that came into the darkness of the creation. And then we see something of perhaps what this brings or what will bring, changing to rapture the dull earthly round. Perhaps that's the mission or the goal which is intended through this descent of the divine. And then we're given this duality, I guess. Love came to her, hiding the shadow death. So in her, she experiences this deep and divine love for Satchivan, and at the same time, coming with that love is his doom, his impending death. That foreknowledge has come to her from the first days. Yeah, so the ordeal has come to her very suddenly. It came to her, I don't know, in that first day or days in which she met Satchivan. And then she received that foreknowledge from Narad that he was going to die in just 1 year. And now, too, she is waking up on the day that Satyavan will die. And she is reliving this year and what has also led up to it. But she is reliving that in the moments of her waking. So she's remembering Satyavan and that love, and she's remembering that this is the day when he is going to die. Yeah, I think you're right. In general, there is this idea that when the divine comes, it comes unexpectedly, suddenly. We may have a long spiritual journey, or we may have put in long hours or years of sadhana. And maybe we don't, see that divine, but suddenly something, the divine comes and touches unexpectedly. Maybe when we're just involved in some ordinary activity. We don't know. Mm. Mm. Yeah, so suddenly that divine presence can come and enter into the life and change everything in a moment. Mm. 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 Yeah, that's right. She had to face that every day, in a sense. Waking up. Yeah. Mm. And then after this, though, we're just given a description of Savitri and her nature and character. And she's described as kind of the perfect person to face this ordeal, to embody this light of the divine, and to take on this great challenge of death.
I want to tell you something you felt when your consciousness changed.
Mm.
You are being you, everything changed, but it's not only one time, maybe many times.
Mm.
For example, I'm doing one time, I died for 15 years. My consciousness changed and again, especially in 2026. Suddenly, it's not I don't understand, but also the presence. Very, very, very long. For what I know, is that for what I come in there, also together, but it's very, very, very interesting. For me, personally, but it's actually very hard.
Yeah, part of what you're describing is this cyclic nature of these dawns and nights that come into our personal life or into sadhana, and also how dramatic or how drastic that change can be, that that sudden advent can change everything, and yet then another day, another transformation must come. There's that some poem by Sri Aurobindo that, peak after peak is trod, and then, we see the still more that must be done.
But it's not easy at all.
Uh,
But it's very, very, when it's stabilized in your soul, automatically you understand. Why? You can be looking at them, you face them, face is closer.
Yeah, our faith grows through each of those ordeals that we face and overcome. A shaft is like a column of light or of anything. Oh, and maybe Cupid has his arrow of love that he shoots people with. And Sri Aurobindo also seems to link that shaft, bore his shaft, that burning test of Godhead in our parts, a lightning from the heights on our abyss. So it may also kind of link it to this shaft of lightning coming down, but also of of a high divine light coming down into the very abyss, the very bottom, inconscient part of our nature. And that's what she experiences and undergoes. Death and the inconscient are there at the base of her existence and ours in the abyss. And that all has to be illuminated. And that purity that she embodies is so beautifully expressed there. Ardent was her self-poised, unstumbling will. Her mind, a sea of white sincerity, passionate in flow, had not one turbid wave. And then comes next this passage that Shraddhavan read, and maybe we can have B read that next.
As in a mystic and dynamic dance, a priestess of immaculate ecstasies, inspired and ruled from time's revealing vault, moves in some prophet cavern of the gods, a heart of silence in the hands of joy, inhabited with rich creative beats, a body like a parable of dawn that seemed a niche for veiled divinity, or a golden temple door to things beyond. Immortal rhythm swayed in her time-born steps, her look, Her smile awoke celestial sense even in earth stuff, and their intense delight poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. A wide self-giving was her native act, a magnanimity of sea or sky, enveloped with its greatness all that came, and gave a sense as of a greatened world. Her kindly care was a sweet, temperate sun, her high passion a blue heaven's equipoise.
Thank you. Let's pause. So we're given first this image of this mystic and dynamic dance, which I guess is celebrated in both the ancient Greek mysteries, perhaps also in the Hindu dances of the gopis around Krishna. Kind of a divine ecstasy is generated in these dances. And Savitri is described as a priestess in one of these dances, and with a heart of silence in the hands of joy. So she embodies both of these aspects of silence and quietude in an expression of dance, of joy and happiness and delight. The prophet. Mm. Yeah, I don't know why this dance takes place in a cavern. I don't know if that's in any of the traditions, but here it seems to be taking, huh? Delphi, but there it took place in a cavern. Oh, uh-huh. In Delphi, okay. So perhaps it refers to that. Delphi is also, isn't that associated with the oracle and prophecy? So maybe that, huh? Mhm. Yeah, I don't know that myth in too much detail. Mm. Okay. Anyway, she is embodying that beauty and delight of the dance and of the immaculate, absolutely pure representation of that and of silence in the heart of joy. And then there is some reference of her influence on the humanity around. Her look, her smile awoke celestial sense, even in earth stuff, and their intense delight poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. Mm, mm. Okay, so why don't you tell us about the temple door? Yeah. Uh, mm. Yeah. Uh, mm. Right. So she's connecting, the immortal heights to the abyss. And she's doing that in her body, right? And her body then is like a temple door to things beyond. Christ talked about the body as being a temple of God. And so her body also, and through her body, we also can pass through that temple door to the higher consciousness, not only her body, but our body. Oh. Mm. Yeah, so the supramental descent in 1956, she breaks open these golden doors, and the supramental light and force descends upon the earth. Perhaps that also was something in her body or representing the physical obstruction, or between the higher light and the world below. Mm. 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 Mother also had that incredible smile, I think, that many people speak of, that awoke celestial sense in the receiver. Yeah, in the ashram, she had that incredible smile. And then some characteristics of her, this wide self-giving was her native act. Always the self-giving, a magnanimity as of sea or sky, enveloped with its greatness all that came, and gave a sense as of a greatened world. She pours out all of this light and force to others, personally in her interactions, personal interactions, but also more widely to the world around. And then again, this unity of her high passion and a blue heaven's equipoise. This equilibrium combined with intense passion, intense force, based on silence, based on quietude and balance. Yeah. Yeah, that brings that kind of personal quality. Her kindly care was a sweet, temperate sun. Just brings warmth and love and closeness to all around her. Shall we continue? Dhanalaksmi.
As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast in a haven of safety and splendid soft repose. One could drink life back in streams of honey fire, recover the last habit of happiness, feel her bright nature's glorious ambience, and preen joy in her warmth and colors rule, a deep of compassion, a hushed sanctuary, her inward help unbarred a gate in heaven. Love in her was wider than the universe. The whole world could take refuge in her single heart. The great unsatisfied Godhead here could dwell, vacant of the dwarf self's imprisoned air. Her mood could harbor his sublimer breath, spiritual that can make all things divine. For even her gulfs were secrecies of light. At once, she was the stillness and the word, a continent of self-diffusing peace, an ocean of untrembling virgin fire. The strength, the silence of the gods were hers. In her he found a vastness like his own, his high, warm, subtle ether he refound, and moved in her as in his natural home. In her he met his own eternity.
Thank you. So the first part of the passage describes how others can experience her love and compassion and help. Savitri's, but also the Divine Mothers more generally, how we can experience the Divine Mother in our life. It's expressed so beautifully. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast.
And as Michael quiet, Michael quiet is the main name here. So now,
This,
Michael quiet is like
no, I think you reach a quiet. You reach a quiet. So the quiet is the noun. And a quiet reach. You reach the quiet. It's just inverted. Maybe you could take it that way. A quiet reach as a kind of a compound noun. But I think it's and a quiet reach like a remembered breast. Yeah, okay, that comes in the next part. Okay, so, but let's just dwell one more second on this first part, this deep of compassion, hushed sanctuary, her inward help, all of these things the Divine Mother offers to us. No? And then, okay, honey fire. It's, sweet poetry and sweet intensity of force, but tinged with joy and ecstasy. The divine force, maybe sometimes it can be terrible, but sometimes it's just also an intense delight. Mm. Mm. Okay. So then we come to B's question, this great unsatisfied Godhead here could dwell. So in her, the unsatisfied Godhead could dwell because she carries all of these qualities, right? Now, if we go back a little bit, yeah. So on page 14, halfway down, we read, love came to her, hiding the shadow death. Well might he find in her. So there, this pronoun is used, he. And then, it kind of describes her, and he is left behind until we come to this again, this pronoun comes. Here it's referred to this unsatisfied Godhead. Okay, but divine love also there was always this, question. It couldn't descend for so long because there was nobody in the world that could embody, could purely express that divine love. And finally, Mother came, and here Savitri came. And that unsatisfied divine love could finally descend and take root on earth in one living soul. Read it. So her is referring what to Savitri, no? What do you think? Why? She carries this ambience, no? I mean, she carries something more from the divine in her. She's embodying this divine mother, but she can also spread her ambience, her atmosphere of purity and self-giving and love onto all the others around her. Mm. That's us. That's us. Um, um, So again, towards the end, we have this union of peace and fire in Savitri. She doesn't have that. It's vacant. It's not there. She doesn't. We might carry something of that dwarf self's imprisoned air where we're enclosed in this kind of selfish atmosphere or something, but she doesn't have that. Her mood could harbor his sublimer breath, spiritual, that can make all things divine. So again, at once she was the stillness and the word. It's out of that silence that the word, the creation, emerges. And when we can find that basis of silence, that expression can become most pure and powerful. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She embodies that light even down into her gulfs. He had expressed that earlier, a lightning from the heights on our abyss. That light has descended into her deepest recesses of her being. Yeah.
sorry, thank you. This really reminds me of like the Prakriti Purusha, like
Prakriti and-
nature and consciousness. So she's being described as like the nature, and then in the end he says so. And like she being the nature and the consciousness, kind of finding manifestation within this. But then she's also both, because she's the silence and the word. And in the end, it's also written, in her he found a vastness like his own, his high warm subtle ether he refound, and moved in her as in his natural home, and met his own eternity. I don't know, I find this very beautiful described. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah,
it just
I
really
think
reminded me
you're
of this
getting
union.
at that she's embodying both spirit and matter, spirit and nature, let's say. You put it as Purusha and Prakriti. She's embodying both of those. She carries the qualities of both of those very consciously. And like B was saying, kind of universally, she's, like these words continent and ocean and all of these kind of words suggest her kind of universality in her expression, and yet also this silent spirit within. Well, love and death, right? That's one of Sri Aurobindo's poems too. And yeah, I don't fully understand, but I guess that is a kind of fundamental duality. For Sri Aurobindo, love and bliss, Ananda, are kind of the highest expression and form of the divine. Death here represents the opposite, that abyss, the inconscient division, being cut off from everything else, right? This absolute division is material matter, the atoms split from everything. And in that division comes inconscience, comes lack of consciousness. Love is the rejoining of all of that division. All those separate parts are joined through love. And so that is why love is so fundamental in healing all of the divisions in our human life and in our world. Embracing everything, yeah. Embracing matter, embracing the adversary, embracing all, even. Mm, 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 mm. Mm.
what I did when I love David. And now something changed. The connection of when you write. It's very, very important for me. Not only some group and some thing and some no, everything. I learned what Canto, Savitri, all of books of Auroville, but I'm living 45 years ago. I don't have time. Sorry, but it's very, very important.
Yeah, that's the fundamental key, I guess, for which is being expressed here by Savitri, but also we each have to learn that lesson to accept others, whatever their position, whatever divisions may separate us, we still need to embrace that and embrace them with love. Heal that division through that. So, as you're saying, in Auroville, it's a very important issue right now.
Very, very, very nice. Sorry. Yeah. For me, I am very, very surprised, but in the beginning, I am not.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So let's continue. Margaret, who could continue?
Till then no mournful line had bared this ray on the frail breast of this precarious earth, since her orbed side in its breast-fastened house, open in sympathy with happier stars, where life is not exposed to sorrowful change, remembered beauty, death-claimed lids ignore, and wondered at this world of fragile forms, carried on canvas strips of shimmering time. The impunity of unborn mites was hers. Although she leaned to bear the human load, her walk kept still the measures of the gods. Earth's breath had failed to stain that brilliant glass, unsmeared with the dust of our mortal atmosphere. It still reflected heaven's spiritual joy. Almost they saw who lived within her light, her playmate in the sempiternal spheres, descended from its unattainable realms in her attracting Advent's luminous wake, the white fire dragon bird of endless bliss, drifting with burning wings above her days. Heaven's tranquil shield guarded the mission child. A glowing orbit was her early term, years like gold raiment of the gods that pass, her youth that throned in calm felicity.
Thank you. Let's pause. So in the first line, he says, "Till then, no mournful line had barred this ray." So this then, I think, just refers to this kind of general time in which he is facing this ordeal of Satyavan's death. So maybe, this past year that she's now remembering. And it seems to then describe her earlier life before that time. So before that, she just lived in the light, in happiness and joy and purity. And it contrasts her and her life with this precarious earth and the others around, who are exposed to sorrowful change and perhaps ignore the beauty of life that she remembers. Yeah, so she remembered the beauty that death claimed lids, that is, the eyes of ordinary people who are subject to death, who maybe foresee their death coming or are exposed to the death of others. They ignore this beauty. The mortal, the usual typical mortal being, misses out on much of the bliss and joy in the world, especially if they are experiencing this grief and pain and suffering of life. We may ignore the beauty, ignore the delight. And there's some beautiful lines there about life. And wondered at this world of fragile forms, carried on canvas strips of shimmering time. So that deals with the nature of our existence and somehow beautifully and poetically with death itself, time and its change, the ephemeral nature of life. But she carries something beyond that, perhaps not subject to that fragile fragility of form. The impunity of unborn mites was hers. She actually carries the force and the power of the divine that can face that death and overcome. Although she leaned to bear the human load, her walk kept still the measures of the gods. Says something perhaps also more generally about the avatar who consents to a mortal life, a mortal body, and the indignities of life, but still keeps intact his conscious immortality, his conscious divinity.
Since her old child, we read that house.
So her breath-fastened house is her physical body, her form. Since her orb sight, her what? Her rounded, maybe expansive sight that can see in all directions. I'm not sure. Her wide vision. Or it could mean her physical sight. I don't know, but then there is this, well, it talks about her purity. Earth breath had failed to stain that brilliant glass, unsmeared with the dust of our mortal atmosphere. It still reflected heaven's spiritual joy. So this is her nature, especially as she's growing up before she has to face all these difficulties. And then this beautiful image, almost they saw who lived within her light, her playmate in the sempiternal spheres, descended from its unattainable realms, in her attracting advent's luminous wake, the white fire dragon bird of endless bliss, drifting with burning wings above her days. Now, the playmate kind of is suggestive of Krishna, but I don't know if Krishna's connected with this dragon bird here. Huh? Garuda. So Garuda, another god. But I think we might also relate it back to this love, this divine love who comes to her. I mean, it's this divine love and bliss kind of hovering over her and descending to her because it's attracted to her because of her nature, her sincerity, her purity, her wideness. Like, well, might he find in her his perfect shrine. So he's, this divine love and bliss is attracted, descending into her. Heaven's tranquil shield guarded the mission child. And then it refers again, now more specifically, to her her childhood, her youth, the mission child. So this Godhead was protecting her, guarding her. A glowing orbit was her early term years, like gold raiment of the gods that pass. Her youth sat throned in calm felicity. So we see more clearly that this is referring to her youth. Yeah, it said, um, those who lived within her light. Almost they saw who lived within her light, her playmate. So for those who were close to her and saw her, they could feel that something above her, guarding her, this divine light and love and delight. But now, well, not now, for next time, we see the shadow side of it. So I think we stop there for today. Do we have any music? Okay, we have a little music.
As in a mystic and dynamic dance, a priestess of immaculate ecstasies, inspired and ruled from truth's revealing vault, moves in some prophet cavern of the gods. Her heart of silence in the hands of joy, inhabited with rich creative beats, a body like a parable of dawn that seemed a niche for veiled divinity, or golden temple door to things beyond.
Okay, thanks to Shraddhavan and Helmut for creating this beautiful space for us, and to all the Savitri Bhavan team, and thanks to Sri Aurobindo.